Hello, welcome to another Monday morning reset. I'm so glad that you could join me here this morning. If you've been following along with the Monday morning reset, then you know as of late we've been talking about the Beatitudes. And the Beatitudes are these short statements found at the beginning of one of Jesus's most famous sermons, the Sermon on the Mount. And before we jump into the particular beatitude I want to discuss today, I want to first just let you hear all of them together. So let me just read the words of Jesus over you here. Matthew chapter 5, starting in verse 3. He says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs." So much there, but what we're going to talk about this morning, we've arrived at verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. And this might be my favorite beatitude of all of them because it's the one that, at least upon first hearing, seems to make the least amount of sense. Here, Jesus tells us that it's the meek who are going to inherit the earth. Now, what does meek mean? It's a word that not everyone might be familiar with. And when we're talking about meek, really we're talking about being gentle, right? Being humble. Sometimes we talk about mild, being meek and mild. So Jesus is saying that it's the humble, it's the gentle people who are going to end up inheriting the earth. Now, I don't know about you, but when I first hear that, it sounds completely backwards. When I look at how the world tends to work today, when I look at how the world has worked in the past, it seems to me that it's not the gentle, it's not the meek who end up inheriting the earth. Those who end up being inheritors of the earth tend to be the people who are strong and overbearing, those who impose their will upon others. The great empires of earth did not arise through being meek or gentle or humble. And yet Jesus gives us this very striking statement here in the Beatitudes. He says, it's not the strong, it's not those with the forceful will who end up inheriting the earth. Jesus says that those ultimately who will inherit the earth are the gentle and the humble. And that seems so backwards. But it makes perfect sense when we look at the ministry of Jesus. Jesus himself is one who came to us meek and mild, humble, gentle in spirit. And you might say to yourself, well, it didn't get Jesus very far. He didn't seem to inherit much, right? The religious leaders and some of the Roman people of the day conspire together and have Jesus crucified. And yet, as we read further in the story, we get to Easter. And Easter is the exact event that shows the words of Jesus here to be true. See, although it looks like in the short term that those who are the strong, the overbearing, the powerful are the ones who get their way, the ones who will ultimately get to inherit the earth, the story of Easter shows us that it's actually those who follow the way of Jesus. Right? God says yes to Jesus' way of life, this meek, humble existence. He vindicates him, raises him from the dead, and establishes him as king over everything. Ultimately, it's the humble who get vindicated. And Jesus holds out this promise to us that if we follow the same way, if we are a people who practice this being meek, being humble, that we'll inherit the world to come. That the kingdom that Jesus looks to establish is full of those kinds of people, not the proud, not the mighty, but the lowly and the humble. So I want to encourage you here as we go throughout the rest of our day, as we go into our workplaces, as we stay around at home with the kids and a spouse, whatever it looks like for you. Today, let us practice living into the world to come, living into what it's going to be. If we ultimately want to be a people who are part of those who inherit the earth, then we need to be gentle, we need to be humble. So serve your spouse, love your kids well, be kind to your coworkers. Right? Maybe give a nice gesture to that boss you don't even like. Not doing it necessarily because it makes you feel good in the moment, but because we trust Jesus in saying that it's ultimately this way that leads to life. It's ultimately the humble that inherit the earth. So this week, let us be meek. Let us be humble. And we hope to see you back next week as we continue the series through the Beatitudes. Grace and peace.